All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Ephraim. Today's date is September 30th, 2022. And I'm saying Ahaya by Yeshem, Yeshua HaMashiach, Baruch Atah Adonai. And if you listen to the sound of my voice, you are blessed to see another day. And for that, all praise, honor, and glory is due to the Most High God of Israel, for now and forever. Okay. Well, first let me just say that we're getting some remnants of Hurricane Ian, so I'm literally doing today's lesson, going through that. You might hear some winds or the window kind of rattling a little bit, but the lights are flickering. But hopefully, we won't lose power, and I'll be able to complete this presentation, God willing, and upload it for you all. But still, yeah. So that's that. But yeah, today, what I wanted to kind of tackle, just when we talk about colonization is just as much a part of world history as it is Israelite history, or even American history, right? Sometimes we tend to forget that America was actually colonized by the British. And that's what the whole Declaration of Independence thing was about, and becoming the United States and all that stuff. Well, as Israelites, and as that shouldn't be a new thing, because the Most High Himself, in first person, prophesied that the land of Israel will become desolate and waste, and the colonization was, and that's because of disobedience and not adhering to the law, statutes, and commandments that he gave the children of Israel, straight up. And so that's a nice segue into this. Many of you know or may not know that a lot of the Ethiopians claim to be the lost tribe of Israel. Well, it's kind of twofold what I'm going to address with this lesson. Number one, it's already been proven that genetically, the Bible tells us that the Ethiopians they're Cushites. They're from Cush. All right, that's Ham all day. Right, their DNA proves that, and not only from me, but from other sites and geneticists that did DNA on the Ethiopians, and they prove the same thing. So everything lined up as far as that. Now, I've said this before. I'll continue to say it. There's no harm in being a sojourner of Israel. Okay, the Most High is no respecter of persons, and by that, what I mean is that if you truly want to be looked at as an Israelite, or one that was homeborn, the Most High Himself told you He gave basically Gentiles an in. All you have to do is take up the laws, statutes, and commandments given to the children of Israel, and you will be seen by Him as one that was homeborn. The problem is, a lot of groups of people, they don't want to be looked at or seen as sojourners. They are calling themselves and consider themselves children of Israel, and we all know that's just not true. So anyway, I say that to say that the flip side to that is that we all know that the children of Israel were cursed to go back into slavery on ships and yokes of iron on the neck, the whole shebang, right? Well, the Ethiopians, their treatment in Israel in today aside, when the colonization was going on throughout Africa, right? They were never conquered. They were never colonized. I mean, so and to me that's pretty impressive, because the Europeans were going all throughout Africa, man. Just I'm not going to really get too in depth or paint too vivid of a picture, but you all can use your imagination, of what went on what went on with colonization, what that involved. Involved a lot of people dying, right, being treated just savagely, that kind of stuff. So I salute any group of people that resisted any type of colonization. I salute the Ethiopians. They were never conquered. And it got me to thinking, wow, how did they manage that? Because when the Europeans invaded Africa, they had all the guns and the weapons that were unknown to native Africans, right? And they had primitive stuff. So the Europeans had an edge when they were going throughout Africa, just claiming up land and claiming stuff as their own. Which, if you walk, today you got Africans speaking French, man, and I don't know. It's just I feel a certain way about that. But it is what it is, right? But yeah, they were never conquered, and I wanted to explore that, because I think I think that says a lot that they resisted, and several times the Italians tried to kick up dust with the Ethiopians, and they couldn't do it. So the point I'm making is that you know that the children of Israel, most of us understand that the children of Israel were cursed to go into slavery, back into slavery. Well, the Ethiopians never went into slavery, so that alone disqualifies them as being an Israelite. And I don't think they look at it or realize that. But the fact that they, as a people, resisted being conquered, actually goes against them in terms of proving that they are Israelites or whatever. Genetics aside, they do not fit the curses. They just don't, not at all. The Aborigines fit the curses way more than the Ethiopians do, which is just true. So anyway, let's look at that. And salute to our Ethiopian brothers and sisters. Whether you're quote unquote genetic Israelites or not, if you're taking up the law, statutes, and commandments given to the children of Israel, then as far as I'm concerned, I salute you. I'm not one to judge. It's not my call. The Most High will separate all that, in terms of who's an Israelite, who's not an Israelite, all that kind of stuff. I don't deal with all that. That's way beyond my pay grade. So anyway, the colonization of Africa and why weren't the Ethiopians ever conquered? Let's get it. And like I said, the Holy Land was no different, because again, the Most High Himself in first person prophesied that was going to happen, that the heathen was going to come in because of our ancestors, basically because of their stiff-neckedness, and he said there was going to be not one soul left. It's going to be desolate, and the land was going to be like waste. So colonization is not a new thing to those familiar with the history of the children of Israel, right? Because you can ask our good friends, and I say that facetiously, the Greeks, the Romans, right? Like so many groups of people that colonized or invaded the land of Israel. And that's why when they talk about they unearth bones and get bones from the land of Israel, I'm like, what bones are you getting? From what group of people? Like any tests of bones from Israel, it's like it should be met, kind of with a grain of salt, because there's so many different races of people that invaded that land. Like what bones are you excavating? What bones are you testing for different DNA? Because there are plenty of European DNA, I'm sure, in the land of Israel, because a lot of different races colonized it. But anyway, that's that. So let's just kind of define. I'm gonna give a real lay definition for what colonization is. And I'm going to read a little bit of it of colonialism here, but in a nutshell, colonization, you think of it like this: it's like basically you have a group of people. They go to an area and they like the area. They want the area for themselves. They see the area has potential to be this and that, whatever. The area has resources, so they want it. The problem is there are already people on the land that they want. So what they do is they go and kind of take the land by force, by way of either killing the occupants there or trying to capture and enslave them, so they can basically take their land. And in a nutshell, that's colonization. Okay. And like I said, the world is just kind of built on that. And so let's go over a little bit of what it says for modern colonialism. It says in the colonial era, colonialism is, in this context, refers mostly to Western European countries' colonization of lands, mainly in the Americas, Africa, Asia, and Oceania, or Oceania. The main European countries active in this form of colonization included Spain, Portugal, France, the Russian Empire, and Great Britain. The Netherlands and the Kingdom of Prussia, or not now mostly Germany, and beginning in the 18th century, like I mentioned, the United States. Most of these countries had a period of almost complete power in world trade at some stage in the period from roughly 1500 to 1900. Now, beginning in the late 19th century, Imperial Japan also engaged in settler colonization, most notably in Hokkaido and Korea. So that's, in a nutshell, that's colonization. Okay, and so with that being said, to say that the Ethiopians were never colonized, or basically were never conquered, let's get into why that didn't happen. Why was Ethiopia not colonized? And the reference for this I'm getting is AE Fellowship, African European Fellowship. Let's see, is there a copyright date here? Copyright date says 2019. All right, that's the source. Okay. It says Ethiopia is Africa's oldest independent state and one of two African countries that avoided colonial rule. The country was, however, occupied by Italy in the 1930s, forcing the Emperor Haile Selassie to flee. Haile Selassie was only able to return after British and Ethiopia forces expelled the Italian army in the course of World War II. Ethiopia hosts the African Union and is one of the world's largest troop contributor to UN peacekeeping operations. Agriculture accounts for 70% of employment and a third of GDP. Natural resources that make a significant contribution to the economy include gold. At least 1 million people are estimated to be employed in gold mining, platinum, copper, potash, natural gas, and, as stated above, hydropower. However, in 2015, Ethiopia played a significant role in the world's production of pumice, pumicite, and tantalum. So it says, what made Ethiopia different? It says Ethiopia has never really been supported by rich mineral resources. Instead, it relied on advances in agriculture. Indeed, Ethiopia was among the first African people to adopt plowing technology. What made Ethiopia stand out from other African countries was its state formation capabilities, advances in agriculture and production, and physical structures. Menelik II. Menelik II was Emperor of Ethiopia from 1889 to his death in 1913, and King of Shewa, 1886 to 89. He introduced several significant changes. For example, his decision in the late 1880s to locate the royal see to Addis Ababa led to permanent capital in the 1890s. Ethiopia was long an isolated country. However, as Menelik started expanding his empire, European colonial powers started showing an interest in the territory surrounding Ethiopia. There you go, that's how it starts. And during his rise to power, Menelik struggled to control Ethiopia against his internal rival emperor, Johannes IV. The Italians allied with him and began supplying Ethiopia with weapons in hopes that Menelik would eventually surrender his power to them. Ain't that something? Wow. So in 1885, Italian troops occupied Eritrea, then still a province of Ethiopia. They mainly did so to counter the French expansion in their region. The seizure by Italians of huge swaths of agricultural fields in the highlands sparked an anti-colonial revolt in the Ethiopian army. In response, the Italians invaded the Tigray region, but faced the resistance of Ethiopian troops, who defeated them in the Battle of Adwa in 1896. This victory brought Ethiopia new prestige as well as general recognition of its sovereign status by the European powers. In the peace treaty that followed, Emperor Menelik renounced Ethiopian claims to the Italian colony of Eritrea in exchange for the recognition of Ethiopia as an independent state. More specifically, Italy was granted the territories of Bogos, Hamasin, and Akali Guzai. On January 1st, 1890, the Italian king announced the creation of the colony of Eritrea, the new monarch of the independent Ethiopia. Menelik II accepted. Due to its coastal location on the Red Sea and its trading links with various empires, Eritrea had been an integral part of historic Ethiopia. It remained an Italian colony until 1941. Wow. But let me stop there for a second. I want to get more specific about what happened with the battles back and forth between them and Italy. Give me 1 second. Okay, I wanted to include this piece in this lesson because I didn't want to give a false impression that Ethiopia was never colonized or never quote unquote conquered. Let me go over this. It says Ethiopia, and this is from ThoughtCo. It says Ethiopia, formerly Abyssinia, is one of the world's oldest countries, right? Dating to around 400 BCE, the region is documented in the King James Version of the Bible in the Kingdom of Axum. Along with Rome, Persia, and China, Axum was considered one of the four great powers of the era. Throughout the millennia of its history, the willingness of the country's people, from farmers to kings, to come together as one, coupled with its geographic isolation and economic prosperity, helped Ethiopia score decisive victories against a series of global colonialist forces. Sorry about that. It says Ethiopia is considered, quote, never colonized by some scholars, despite Italy's occupation from 1936 to 1941, because it did not result in a lasting colonial administration. So it's important for me to note that. Okay, Italy did occupy, and some of Ethiopia was eventually annexed by the Italians. Let me continue on. It says, seeking to expand its already considerable colonial empire in Africa, Italy invaded Ethiopia in 1895. Now, in the ensuing First Italo-Ethiopian War from 1895 to 1896, Ethiopian troops won a crushing victory over Italian forces at the Battle of Adwa on March 1st, 1896. On October 23rd, 1896, Italy agreed to the Treaty of Addis Ababa, ending the war and recognizing Ethiopia as an independent state. Now watch this. On October 3rd, 1935, Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, hoping to rebuild his nation's prestige lost in the Battle of Adwa, ordered a second invasion of Ethiopia. On May 9th, 1936, Italy succeeded in annexing Ethiopia. On June 1st of that year, the country was merged with Eritrea and Italian Somalia to form Africa Occidentale Italiana, AOI, or Italian East Africa. Ain't that something, man? That's crazy. It says Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie made an impassioned appeal for assistance in removing the Italians and reestablishing independence to the League of Nations on June 30th, 1936, gaining support from the U.S. and Russia. But many League of Nations members, including Britain and France, recognized Italian colonization. Oh yeah, of course. It was not until May 5th, 1941, when Selassie was restored to the Ethiopian throne, that independence was regained. So, I wanted to include that because, I wanted to give a thorough view of why, Ethiopia was considered, quote unquote, never colonized. They were. It's just not for a sustained long period of time. And so I wanted to give a full, accurate view of what it was, right? So you just want to be responsible. And of course, if you guys want to, read, up more on it or whatever the case may be, you can always do that, But I hope you enjoyed this presentation on the colonization of Africa and why Ethiopia was never conquered. So that being said, until the next time, the next lesson, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. And until next time, this is Dr. Ephraim signing off, saying Ahaya by Yeshem, Yeshua HaMashiach, Baruch Atah Adonai, Shalom, elect.